for like coding or things like that is also useful. The big thing, honestly, on the weekly is just like what I use this almost as like a radar of like if something big happens, if there's some big shift, it's going to come up in here. And I mostly care about big shifts in the application layer. I mean, maybe y'all can tell me I'm wrong, but I feel like actually the O1 or the Strawberry releases have sort of shown out. Like I feel like the model layer changes have slowed down a lot, and we're out of the scaling paradigm where you can just throw more training at it and it gets lots better. There's incremental changes. Okay, like those are fine. But there's so much power in the cutting edge models right now. Like the really interesting question is how do we figure out new ways to apply them in useful ways? And I'm hopeful that if, as those things come up by, having a lot of people or even a small number of people who are excited about this looking at it, it's going to come up, when something new pops, it'll come up here.
For sure. No, yeah, for sure. This is a bit off topic from like what we're about to talk about in terms of IDEs, but the model that has gotten me, I mean, obviously the O1 thing, I'm a little bit salty to be honest because I haven't spent quite $1,000 on the API yet as a developer, so I can't pull it into Cursor just yet. But I am excited for that. I think there's a guy named McKay Wrigley that I follow closely for this type of stuff on X, Twitter, whatever it's called, and he said that using O1 in his workflow has allowed him to hand off a lot more of the reasoning and thought process to O1 to the model. So I'm excited to test it out, like just see what it's capable of. But the outside of that, what's got me really excited is Quinn 2VL, and they have I think like a 1 or 2B version, a small one, a 7B, which is what I've been focused on, and then a 72B. And the use case that I have for it is basically just taking I have a ton of screen record videos for stuff like this that I've recorded in the past, and it can take video and give a description of what's in that video. It's not great at getting the full context of the video because it can't take in audio. It's not multimodal in that sense. It's just video. But I think I found a way to like hack around that and basically like get the scripture or the transcript of that video inside the model as well, in addition to like screenshots of, I think it's like every 60 frames or something like that, you can feed it to the model and it'll give you the description back. So I'm excited for that. But
What
I in
about
general
there?
agree. Quinn 2VL.
Oh, got it for sure.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm excited about the capabilities of them. I think like I saw this quote, was like, if we have no more model transformations or advancements for the next year, we're still going to be figuring stuff out with the models
I think
for quite a while. We just haven't like.
I think that's a good point in that, or like when you say quite a while, I think basically until we stop getting scaling laws, and then for a few years after, like the scaling laws have to stop working for us to catch up, right? Like there's so much search space to explore here, right? So
Yep.
I agree.
Yep.
Yeah,
So
no, absolutely. I mean, I think we don't need any new models for this to change the world,
yeah.
but we need to figure out the ways in which we're applying it to do it.
Yep. Agreed.
All right, cool. Well, let's hand it over to you guys. So welcome everyone. Flo and Yikes volunteered. Thank you guys. They're going to lead us through some IDE alternatives to Cursor. And with that, I'm going to turn off my camera, step back, but if I can monitor the chat as needed. So if things come up, I can echo them by voice. And you guys can just worry about what you're talking about.
Sounds good. To start off, I didn't think it would be a fair comparison to Pear AI if I used like the paid version of Cursor I've been using for like a year versus like Pear AI's free version. So I actually did sign up. I went through like the sign up process of Pear AI to get right into the comparisons. Like they are slightly cheaper. Even their regular price is going to be a little bit cheaper than Cursor. Sorry, I meant to open that up as well. They both use Stripe payments. This is kind of like small, menial stuff, but I just tried to be as thorough as possible. I was going through as I was going through the comparison. So they both use Stripe. I guess Pear AI gives you access to a private Discord. I signed up and paid, but I didn't get a link in my confirmation. Like they sent me a Stripe confirmation and like a little welcome email saying like thanks for signing up, but I didn't get access to the Discord. I probably have to go to their social media and find it or whatever. But that is an upper hand that they have in the comparison because Cursor support is limited. Shout out to Cursor because as far as I know, they're like it's like 10 engineers, right? Like I don't think they have like this super big team to give like a bunch of resources to customer support, but they are a little bit notorious for like just not responding to like customer concerns at all. But they're building cutting edge tech. Like can you blame them, right? Like I mean they've raised a lot of money, so they probably could afford to get a customer support team. But I thought that it was cool that Pear AI gives you access to a private Discord where you have access to the founders and the contributors, and I'm sure you'll be like in there building with them because this is like cutting edge stuff. The thing that I thought was a little bit weird about Pear AI, and I actually should bring this up on the screen. If I go try Pear AI. On their pricing page, they kind of get into the details of how they charge. And if you hover over this eye here, you'll see it says your Pear AI credits usage depends on your prompt input and output sizes. On average, this equates to around 700 requests. And I'm assuming what they mean by that is like 700 requests per month, and which is technically more than Cursor's. And in this credit system of Pear AI, I'm not sure if those credits actually roll over or what, like how that works. But just slightly different than Cursor. You know, just again trying to be thorough in how I compare the two. I have some screenshots from when I signed up. This is like the welcome email. This is what you get for subscribing. Again, just trying to be thorough. I actually recorded a video of like the whole process. It would take a lot for me to like edit it down, so I'm not like again including like my credit card information and stuff like that in there. But I did record a screen video of me like setting this thing up and getting it going. The one thing I will say, as I double clicked on this setup and got the program to actually install on my computer, one thing they did that I thought was very different from Cursor, and I've had to set up, just to give a little bit more background, I've had to set up Cursor as a portable version on other machines because I'm trying to use Cursor for more than just programming. Like I've started like blogging and taking notes, and like I don't want what I do in projects outside of my programming or coding to affect the programming coding, especially when it comes to VS Code extensions, because sometimes there's conflicts with different languages or whatever. So what I've done is set up Cursor a bunch of times recently, and I know for sure because I set up Cursor within the last week that they don't do this part. That was a lot to say that Cursor does it much differently from Pear AI when you first start up the IDE, because Pear AI showed me a dialogue where they basically went over to VS Code, grabbed all my extensions, all my settings. I saw this happening in real time too. They went and grabbed all my extensions and settings and automatically brought it over to Pear AI without prompting. I think that was like my only real issue with that. I thought it was cool. It was a neat little feature. Cursor also does this as well, but they prompt you for it. They ask you ahead of time, would you like your settings brought over from VS Code? And sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. And in this case, it wasn't a big deal because basically as like a little setup project to get to know Pear AI, I started a blog for the latent space notes that I'm always taking. I don't know if I'll actually keep up with it, but I just thought it would be a cool project to like learn a new IDE. This is something I've done a bunch over the last couple weeks. So I was like, whatever, I'll do it again on Pear AI to see, you know, like what the differences are. And for that specific use case, I don't mind that they break over my extensions, right? It's like, you know, Python and Rainbow CSV, and I mean, I use a lot of transcriptions from the Whisper model, the Whisper AI model from OpenAI, and that model outputs SRT files. So this extension is really useful for that. But I just thought when using Pear AI or setting it up, I thought it would be cool if they like consulted me first before they just brought over my settings. It was like an automatic thing. I didn't touch any OK, or I didn't hit any buttons, and it kind of brought all my settings in. That being said, it pretty much is just another VS Code fork, you know, at its core. We can get into like to compare the kind of like AI features. but ultimately it's just a VS Code fork. You know what I mean? Like, and the one thing I will say it's lacking is the composer mode. I miss that a lot from Cursor, and I agree. I think I saw K-Ball say this earlier. One thing that's not quite as good either is the autocomplete. Like Cursor tab, which used to be called, I think they called it Copilot Plus Plus or something like that, is really, really, really good. And over here on Pear AI, their autocomplete is not as good. And actually, it was another, again, I got this on video. Maybe I'll like compile notes or something like that. But if you guys have any questions too, like that's coming in through the chat, I see questions or like comments popping in, but I'm not able to like read them and talk at
I
the
can
same
watch
time.
chat for you if you want.
I think it's
Jump
just
in.
chatter so
Yeah.
far.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, I
Cool.
haven't seen anything. Unless Trickster, I think you said never mind. But.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so what was I gonna say? I think we were talking about the AI features, but yeah, autocomplete is not the same. Oh, and actually, when I first started an AI chat, just to get to know Pear AI and doing all the same things I would do in Cursor, but on the Pear AI side, it showed me a pop up that was basically like our autocomplete. And I guess it's if you don't choose a model, like because here the models that you can select is the built-in Pear AI model, GPT-4o, and Cloud 3.5 is what they have as default. I believe you can go in and add your API key and get access to more stuff. But the pop-up that I got as soon as I started trying to talk to the built-in Pear AI, because I wanted to compare and contrast, was that I needed Olama installed to get access to the autocomplete. And then the pop-up went away, but I thought that was a little bit weird too. Like just different experience from Cursor. I'll say it like that. So that was a couple of the things that I experienced. I don't know if you guys have specific questions about Pear AI or what you would like specifically want to see in the IDE, but essentially it is just a VS Code fork, and that has some like AI chat features. I can get into the details of like what I saw, when I was building this blog. But that's pretty much how good is it editing the files. I don't know. Let's test it out. If we go into post with code, say index, could say something like, help me build out a blog post that talk about using IDEs to edit code. A bit meta. I mean, I guess it's cool that they have like this like sparkly line around the chat box or whatever. Another thing, again, small, but they have this big button, which is pretty cool because it makes the chat a little bit bigger. Sometimes it's annoying to like drag it back and forth on the cursor side. I actually there was an experiment that I was going to save for Zed because I really want to try that one out as well. But I have a file that I can bring in and test the capabilities of the model. I mean, of the chat.
Christopher asks, what is your gut level reaction to like what parity percent they are with Cursor? Are they like 50% there, 70% there?
The autocomplete definitely is not up to par. The chat is about the same. I actually like some of the buttons they have, like some of the features they have on Pear AI better than Cursor. But the big thing that I think Cursor has a major advantage on, at least right now, is Composer. Like to be able to open a chat window. First of all, it's like a floating chat window in Composer. You can kind of like move it around the window itself. I'll make this full size. And then you can type into Cursor. I don't know. Have you guys seen I don't know who asked that question, but have you seen Composer at work? Like, have you actually watched someone use Cursor and like the Composer feature within there? It's like there's one chat place where you type in. I'll just pull up Cursor. Actually, I use it too much to like trying to explain this to you.
Sounds like the answer is yes. He has seen. He likes Composer.
Okay. Yeah, it's just not the same. Like, and they don't have Composer. Like, ultimately, that's my gut reaction to that. 65, 70%. You know what I mean? Yeah, I definitely can. We definitely can demo Composer.
there's the other question. Yeah, is there anything Pear AI is offering that you wish Cursor had?
Not in mass, like not anything major, not anything major. This big button's cool, but if you're hanging your hat on that for $15 a month, I don't know. You know what I mean? And I follow one of the team members. I don't think it's exactly the founder, but I follow one of the team members on Twitter. They seem like a nice team, you know, not saying they're terrible. I think they have a long way to go. It's an uphill battle, you know what I mean? But maybe they have something up their sleeve that I just don't know about. I like that it wasn't sketchy when I signed up. Let me, if I can demo this code real quick. I think I got like 5 minutes or 9 minutes left.
You can go over
What
if
I'll
you
do
want.
is,
Don't, I'm gonna be winging it, so
oh yeah,
it's all good.
for sure. Yeah, so what I did was I typically use their, I thought it was a question that came in that I didn't address, maybe not. Yeah, oh, Kishore just says to demo Composer. I'll definitely come back to that. So typically on the Windows side, if I can go back to my Explorer Pear AI, there's this thing called Power Rename that I really love a lot, and it allows you to rename files in mass, right? So like you can find, it's like a find and replace for file renaming. I love this tool. And so what I did on, like this is not available on my Mac. I have a MacBook. And so what I did was write a small, tiny script on my Mac to basically bring this feature into Windows, or bring this feature into Mac. Sorry, the Mac OS. And what I'm gonna do is see if, because I like using it so much, I'm gonna see if code tools space. I'm gonna see if this IDE can help me turn it into a Python script. If I go to job temp, we paste it in there. Because then if it's a Python script, I can use it on, you know, whatever platform. Or maybe I should go for a Golang script like Slono always uses. Dropbox temp. Right. So what is it? Alt Shift R. Great. So this is a shell script that I can ask to see if it can translate it. Given the context of space case, help me turn this into a Python script. What do you guys think about that prompt? Send it, run it. Insert that cursor. It's interesting. I like that this feature on the cursor side a bit better. It's a little easier to read. The accept and reject is on the far right side, and I think it's like red and green. But it, for the most part, works the same way. Minus on cursor, you can just hit the accept button to accept all. I don't see that button over here, but they do have an option here at the top to accept all. Just go ahead and accept all. And just so we have both, I'm just going to rename this to base case .py, and then delete this. Compare selected. Yeah, I think with the exception of that, I think this could work as far as I can tell. I'd have to test it and see, I guess. I actually have a good demo for a composer if we can test that out. But it has to do. I'm just a terrible. I've never really actually done front end engineering in JavaScript, and I think it's very useful for that. Composer is.
Why front end in JavaScript specifically? Just because you get the immediate feedback if you're running the dev server.
Yes, sir. And it's like multiple. At least what I found, like the edits or the changes that I want made. Like when I'm editing that type of stuff, I'll type in a prompt. It'll have to edit multiple files. So it's like a good demo for Composer to show like the real power of it.
Oh, I see. I see.
So yeah, I don't know. Like I said, it's a VS Code fork that has some AI features. They're just gonna have to like differentiate a lot, in my opinion, to like uh for it to make sense for you to use this over Cursor, especially if they don't have like something like Composer.
Good question.
Wait until GitHub Copilot is like.
GitHub Copilot is what now? Is what?
It seems like they're trying to catch up. I don't know if you guys saw that they like implemented some of the cursor features.
I haven't actually played with that very much at all. I'm curious. Because they do have I think they have an official Neovim extension for that as well, which is pretty cool. But the question from the chat is, what is a definition for Composer? Like, do you want to like pull up the Composer window and show it off real quick? I haven't played with it very much, honestly, so you're probably better than I am.
Oh, okay. Nice. This will be dope. I don't. Oh yeah, this is great. This is great because I can show that exact project. Okay, so I got Cursor.
Maybe I can try it with the equivalent Neovim tools. We'll see. It's been a while since I've actually opened something up in NVim too. So
I really want to try. So I'm a Neovim newbie, right? Like I have no real experience with. I don't even know the Vim key commands like that well. You know what I mean? Like regular, like forget Neovim. You guys are using Lua and customizing and all that stuff. So like I'm very new to it. I really want to try Avante after seeing all of the hype around it on Twitter. But I also realized like at some point it's me like ricing my IDE and I'm not actually getting work done. You know what I mean? So I just haven't taken the dive yet.
Yeah, always. I did the same thing with VS Code though. I would just like collect cool extensions, so no matter what, I'm screwed. But if you, in terms of how to start with that, or I guess just general Neovim 101, there's two things that very much helped me kind of wrap my head around it. One is instead of using like vanilla I started with LazyVim, and LazyVim is like a distro of Vim where it has a bunch of like sane defaults and like a bunch of pre-installed extensions. There's like a tree sitter and some good navigation stuff. So I started there, and then only once I felt comfortable or felt that like I wanted to start customizing, but I was limited because I didn't know how everything had been built up, that's when I switched over to Kickstart, which is, I would recommend that should be the path that you go, because starting with vanilla Vim is just like a giant, like you probably learn it more intimately, but Kickstart is a very thorough walkthrough, and the walkthrough is just read init.lua and do everything it says like in the whole file, and now you know Vim. But the other thing that I find helpful, that I found particularly helpful, is at least for getting the keybinds down. There's a plugin called Precog.nvim, and you'll see it if I show my terminal later on. But it'll do a little like ghost letter at the location of where you could move your cursor to, with that letter of like, if like it'll put E at the end of the next word to indicate that I can press E to go over there. So between those two, that's how I learned. Yeah.
No, that's fire. Yeah, that's exactly what I need, because like I see, I don't know if you know the Primogen that like streams, and he's like really big into Neovim or whatever. Man, like when I see him moving around the IDE, it's amazing, and I really want to do stuff like that, but I just haven't taken the time to like learn all the shortcuts and you know what I mean. But I think you can be very proficient at programming and coding, like autocomplete or not, if you have like that stuff done. If you can never touch the mouse and still be able to operate your computer, I think you can move at light speed. Like
Absolutely.
that's one thing I've like last year I got a much better computer. Like I have a 5950X and a 3090, which is like basically top of the line last generation consumer hardware. Like this generation, I'm a little bit behind, but essentially it's like one of the best GPUs you can get. And I found that my workflow got so much faster, but I still was not able to move at the speed of my thoughts. And I think that's like for me, like the major limiting factor is just like not being able to operate solely from the keyboard. So
Yeah.
for anyone listening, like if you're into that side, Neovim is like a great resource to explore if you want to become faster at that type of
Yeah,
stuff.
that's actually I have all the things that I need in order to potentially do that. In that I have I forget what it's called. There's an extension you can put into Chrome where it gives you Vim key bindings for navigating in Chrome. So I can and then I have Pop OS, so I can use the launcher and swap over to Chrome or just type in the other program so I can switch focus. And then I have my browser, and then I have my terminal, and then those are most of the things that I need to do most of the things in sticking to Vim keybinds. But uh, I don't have the Vim stuff like burned into my brain, probably just because I don't spend enough time in my IDE anyway. but
Yeah.
um, but the one thing that I am trying to crack with Vim that I haven't found I found some solutions for, but I haven't. There was, and it's because I saw Prime do it actually, where so there's a Vim plugin called Harpoon that Prime, I think Prime actually developed it, and the idea being if you're working in multiple files, you can just you can tag them, and then like 1 through 5 on your keyboard will like swap you over into the buffer at the location that you have harpooned, so you can sort of like bounce between your things. And what I want is I want number 1 on my Harpoon to be a browser. So I want a browser that works in my terminal that I can just harpoon myself back over to if I need like Stack Overflow or something. And I've sort of worked around that in a few different ways. But yeah, that's a feature I'm like trying to sort of figure out. See, like I've got a couple of plugins that I might try and like hack on to make it work. But I found some like cool stuff in that direction. But that's the thing I want basically.
Let's say it won't get you quite to the browser unless you have an in-terminal browser that you like, but you can configure Tmux to have Vim-like screen key bindings, though I use a different escape, and then you can use essentially Vim inside of anything, or Vim key bindings anywhere in your terminal, scrolling, capturing, moving text around, hopping, and you can have as many terminals as you want. So you could have pinned terminals that are like, oh, this is my browser, oh, this is my server window, this is whatever.
Oh yeah, well yeah, exactly. The thing that I'm missing is the in-terminal browser. I started on Tmux, but then I moved over to Zellige, which is just sort of a prettier, more modern type of Tmux. Um, but yeah, definitely a big fan of the match your Vim key bindings to your Tmux key bindings such that you can move, through anything you can do on your terminal to in a Vimy way, I suppose.
Just to because I saw Kishore already asked the question. Can you repeat the part of the value of Neovim and Precog? And I think the value of all these tools combined is like that you can make your own custom IDE. It's basically what it is. Like you're building an IDE from scratch that is kind of like customized to you and what you want. And it allows you to. What the value that I saw in it is that my brain a lot of times with the ideas that I have moves faster than my a lot of times my hardware, like the computer, the tools that I'm working with, or my fingers, especially when I'm trying to click around and bring this window up here and I'm, taking notes everywhere. So the value of this stuff is
Right.
that you a lot of times you can operate your entire computer without ever leaving the keyboard. Like you hands on keyboard at all times, you can operate the computer. And like whether it be taking notes or going to the browser or open this other program, like you can kind of like jump around So that's the value that I didn't want to leave too far behind without answering Kishore's question
The,
on that. But that's ultimately it's just custom IDE that you're building yourself. But I think the value for me was being able to move fast.
the big thing, if I could, the big thing I would want. So like how how Cursor with Copilot Plus Plus tries to predict where to put your cursor next. I want
Hmm.
to yank that out and bring it over to Neovim, because Neovim is all about like I can make multiple cursors, and like the core like movement of Vim is moving your cursor around. All the motions are based on like quickly moving your cursor wherever it's supposed to be. So if I could have something sort of just predict that rather than have to manually do it, then I think I would kind of end up with like best of both worlds kind of situation. And then I have a couple of will stay JS parties sometimes threaten to turn into Neovim party. True, true. Playlist, and then yeah, Frick, I would definitely yeah, the kickstart and the lazy Vim sort of thing. I would go kickstart if you are familiar with Neovim but need to like put in the hours of training your fingers, and then yeah, like I mentioned earlier, Precog, and then if you just want to dip your toes in but want like a more full featured IDE, then lazy Vim is the way to go. Yeah, then I would start with kickstart and like work up from the init.lua from there. Um, and then yeah, go through that and go through Vim Tutor. Those between those two, that's everything you'll need. But also, yeah, there's plenty of playlists as well.
What is it? Space case. I can show you my like um it's like Dropbox temp base. I don't know Vim that much, but for anyone else that's lost in the chat, because I didn't know about this stuff until like a couple months ago, to be honest with you. But for anyone else that's lost, this is like Vim, like vanilla Vim. Um, when they say like IDEs, it's like a custom IDE that you can um, customize for your own use cases, like for your own personal.
The
You can
term I've heard
personalize
is
an
PDE,
IDE.
is personal development environment, which is a
So,
little bit cheeky,
exactly, exactly.
but gets the point across.
No, exactly. So, um, it's like very raw. There's no pretty like file management. There's like it's like a keyboard, the text, and that's pretty much. I mean, obviously they have like linting and syntax, coloring or whatever that's called. Um,
Well, so
but
yeah,
yeah,
so there's a bare bones one that'll exist in almost any machine that you like SSH into, which is just like regular Vim. And that is like super bare bonesy, kind of uh, the first text editor, I suppose, quote unquote, not the actual first, but the yeah, the pretty version is Neovim, but and the thing that Neovim does is that it makes all the full API of anything the text editor can do available as either like a Vim script or Lua, and then adds a bunch of um, potential things to the API. And then there's like a similar thing that they did with the LSP API, where just the language server, which is the thing that like helps will lint your stuff and throw the error messages and stuff like that. So between those two, you get to basically like by hand tune everything that your IDE would do. Like when I would occasionally get the feeling in VS Code where I'd be annoyed. Like I'm like, why won't it just like let me change this part? Like it's stupid that I have to do this over and over. You don't like you can change that part with Neovim, and that's sort of the draw, generally speaking.
yeah, we definitely need like a part two where we go over all of the different Vim tools, because this is something I'm genuinely interested in as well, and I can let whoever else lead. But for anyone else that's following along, it doesn't really use Neovim or Vim. This is apparently an open source project that is ambitiously going after Cursor. Like all the stuff that you have in Cursor, they're trying to replicate it here. With the exception of Composer, I don't think they're trying to
They are
do that.
not.
But
However,
anyways, if
there's
you
a great alternative to Composer that I'm happy to recommend, and that's
the
actually,
There's
Aider.
yes. So prior
there
to,
is kind of an interesting thing here. Sorry to
yeah,
interrupt
go
you
go,
guys, but
you're good.
like anything that is application layer that Cursor is doing is likely to end up replicated. They're
Mhm.
Hmm.
they're only places where I think they're likely to maintain differentiation or have the even potential to maintain differentiation is in their custom models, of which I think there are two that I'm aware of. One is their tab complete Copilot++, whatever you'll call it, and the other is their diffing model, which is what lets you take essentially a generated set of changes from a composer or something like that. You're basically a chat-based, here's a set of files to change, and apply those into actual useful diffs. Because if you ever try to do that manually coming from Claude or something, it's a pain in the ass.
Yep.
And Cursor, right, has been flaky recently because I think they're getting hammered with traffic. But like when it works, it's like, wow, okay, that makes such a difference.
For sure. Yeah, I had my in filming the video for Pear AI, I had my first run in with like git patch apply, and like I kept trying to it just I could not get it to work. So it made me really appreciate Cursor's like diffing model whatever they're using for that, because it's like seamless every time. You can just apply to the entire file. I should get back to Cursor and like show some of the examples, but you can just it's seamless. Like you don't even really think about it. And I tried to do it myself, like oh yeah git apply, and it just wasn't going at all. Like I could not get it to work. I just ran into a bunch of errors, no matter what I tried. So, yeah, like I'm totally agree with you in terms of like them differentiate on models alone.
What was
So,
that task you were trying to do, or the repo you were working out of Flow? Just so I can maybe take the last couple of minutes and at least try to show what I've rigged up in Neovim. Although, yeah, I have been not inside my IDE enough lately, so it might look kind of janky, but we'll see.
yeah. So this specifically was just Swix put out a tweet. Swix got a shout out. Swix, the Latent Space Pod and AI News got a shout out a couple of weeks ago. I don't know, time's flying, man. I think it was a couple weeks ago from Andre Carpathy and I think someone else, and got a rush of traffic to the AI News website, if I remember correctly. And Swix was like, "Oh, maybe we should do a redesign because the AI News website is like the most basic AI News. If one of you guys could find the link to the AIE News or the AI News sub, oh there it is, buttondown.com, that one. So this is what the website currently looks like, and he was talking about doing a redesign. So I did a live stream where I redesigned the AI News using v0.dev. I don't know if you guys have heard about this, but it's a really cool tool where you can just talk to it and get front end designs in JavaScript. And I think they have other languages in there, but it's mostly JavaScript Next.js. So I used this tool in conjunction with Cursor and created a new front end for the newsletter where you can enter your email. And this is basically what I got after the redesign. And it just takes the same exact idea, general idea, where you come to the website and sign up, input your email address. And I tried to go find the actual tweets where people were endorsing this newsletter, and went and like basically did a small redesign. I think the tweets are a little bit bulky and like ugly, but I just tried to do a quick redesign on using v0.dev and Cursor, and this is what it came up with. And a couple times when I just to wrap it up, because I know like
You're good.
we need to also go into Swix. I mean not Swix. Yikes' thing is I use Composer in here a couple of times. So to use Composer, you hit Control Shift I, or I think there's another key. There's some other way to get to it, but you can use Control I to have it pop up at the bottom there, or Control Shift I. And what you can do is say something like, I don't know, what kind of, I'll take maybe input from the audience. What else could we show on this page to like make it more enticing for people to show up on the newsletter? I'm not really sure. I don't have, my brain's fried because I'm trying to talk and like demonstrate at the same time. Yeah, I'll get a link to the live stream actually. I'll put a link to the live stream as a reply to Frickster.
I do want to mention
But you guys have any ideas?
in terms of V0, V0 is great. I do want to mention a couple of open source options, as I am the vaguely fanatic open source person. There is OpenV0 from Raiden. I don't know if he maintains it as much anymore, but it's a decent start if one were to want to iterate. And then there's openv0.dev, which I just found on a Google, which I think is just supposed to be a model rather than a full sort of thing. And then the last one that I would mention is GPT Engineer, which is GPT Engineer. Can I just GPT Engineer. Let's see if I can actually Google it. Okay, there we go. I think it's gptengineer.app, which is that will do your whole front end as opposed to just a component at a time, but it is yeah, like it's a little more like sometimes it can be doing too much and I actually just want a V0 as opposed to like a whole front end builder, but I also like use GPT Engineer actively like pretty frequently, so I'd recommend checking it out. I think Dudu makes it as in here probably somewhere, but thought I would point those out real quick.
No, for sure. Thank you for sharing. This is kind of crazy to me because it's like the IDE is already augmenting you by having AI in there, and then like the v0.dev is like an augmentation to the IDE, in some sense. So that's insane. But yeah, that's. I actually got a good suggestion for what to see if we can get going, from Slono, and he said to put a CNN style ticker with the latest news. So let me give it a shot. Let me make sure I'm on the right model because I'd like to pull. Yeah, it's Claude 3.5 Sonnet. It's good enough for me. I'm gonna try and do a Slono style prompt. His prompts are like 6 words, and the model will go crazy. I don't know how he pulls this off every time, but I'm gonna try. Let's see. Add CNN style ticker that shows the latest news. Should we go like RSS feed or just latest news? Like leave it like that?
So yeah, I guess we'll see.
We'll see. He's crazy. Solano's crazy because he actually said leave it like that. So this is showing a small portion of the power of Composer in the sense that if you use Control K, it edits within the file. You don't leave that window, that middle window. Sorry, I'll show. If you use Control K, you could say something like, come up with a better way to say AI news by small AI. And because I'm focused on this specific code block, when I submit the edit, the model will look at what I'm focused on and then come up with some extra code, let's say like that. That's Control K. If you hit Control L, you get a nice little chat window over here where you can type, have a conversation with the model as opposed to just edits, strictly edits. So you can have a conversation. Oftentimes it will propose edits, and then you can add those edits to, let's see, what's a better word for archive for examples. And it'll look at the file that you're currently on. It'll suggest something. You can hit the apply button. If you like it, you keep it, you accept it. If you don't, you reject it. That's Control L. Composer is a new paradigm where you are talking to the model, but the model is going to try to either create the files from scratch or edit all the files necessary for whatever your request is. And I think that's why people are like so hyped about Composer, why it's like such a big deal. It's like you can talk to it if you know specifically what you want, you can talk to it and get a lot done, like just speaking to it in plain English, and it'll kind of like convert it to. And it's not always accurate. It's not 100% hit rate. Sometimes it takes a lot of back and forth. If you have like a larger code base, what I've heard personally is that, or from other people, and I don't know this personally, but I've heard it's not that great. But this is like the power of Composer. It's like you can come in here. You can like save all. My save all button is not there because I have auto save on, but you can save all, and then it'll auto update within the browser what that would look like, which is right here. So I haven't.
One quick note on the larger code base versus not that great. I think the larger your code base, the more you should be giving it context that gives it clues, right? Because like with a small code base, it can look at the whole code base and be like, all right, great, I know what to do here. Whereas here you might say, okay, look at this page and this page and do it in this way, and here's some related context that might be useful, and that can help focus it in to be useful even in a much larger setting. Because one of the things that Cursor has that's really nice as well is you can tell it which context is relevant, right? You can say, hey, add this file, this file, this file as context.
For sure. Yeah. And I've literally taken up way too much time because we're supposed to be looking at Yikes thing, but I just wanted to show you, like, for anyone, because I know someone was asking earlier, like, why is Composer a big deal or whatever. So.
You're good. I was just trying to clone OpenV0 because I guess Raiden doesn't have a hosted version anymore. Because I wanted to go full open source, but we might not have the chance to do that. Oh, but it's 52 already, I guess. Well, yeah, I guess I should. Let's see. What do you have, like a repo I could just clone and then I'll throw the same prompt at Ader and see what happens?
Yes, so I never got around to putting this into a repo, but the last one I did. Latent space notes. Again, this is just like the.
Cool.
Oh crap! Is that the right one? Yeah, that's the right one. Okay. Scroll to the bottom. There we go.
Sweet.
Yeah, hopefully based on this conversation, like that'll be the first set of notes that I put up here, like first blog post or whatever.
Yeah, Melty is actually still building, but it's not erroring out this time, so that is a thing.
Nice.
Well, we'll need to do a follow-up then. You can talk about Melty next week.
Yeah, perfect. And then
I
will actually put that on my calendar right now so I don't forget again. No promises that I won't forget because that happens a lot, but I will try my darndest here. Let's do calendar. So yeah, I guess maybe next week.
As we are getting.
I was going to say
next week
I can do a sort of like hybrid Melty Neovim thing and take up all the time, and it will be good.
Yeah, please. I love the Neovim stuff for sure.
Well, and with these like 5 minutes left, and since we've already quickly settled what is happening next week, I'd actually love to throw Flo's question that he pitched at me at the beginning as we were filling time at everyone here, everyone who showed up. A lot of you guys show up every week. What makes these valuable? What would you like more of? What types of things would you like to be hearing from people about? I'm going to open that up to the chat.
Yeah, what are we opening to the chat?
Flo, do you want to restate how you said it? I think you said like, what are you taking away from these conversations to work?
Yeah, for sure. Like that was my main thing because I know what I walk away with specifically, and a lot of it sometimes isn't for work stuff, but I'm using it for little side projects or experiments, or you guys just keep me up to date. You know what I mean? So that was kind of my question to Keybinds at the beginning was what are you taking away from these AI and actions that you guys actually go use for work or even for play, even if for play stuff? What are you guys taking away from them? Because then it kind of informs us on like what other topics you guys want to hear. maybe what brings value to you? You know what I mean?
It was mid-type, but yeah, on the off chance, uh, what I do a lot is a collecting of these sorts of tools. So most of the time, I've already heard about the thing, but because I'm so busy trying to collect them, I don't often have time to use them. So people who are using things as daily drivers that are different from the daily drivers that I use, that's valuable for me. And then it's nice to be able to sort of be in a space where people are AI native and looking for tools and like having problems, so I can go, oh, try this open source thing and also give it a star because open source, lol. And that's what it is for me. Also, yeah, all of basically anytime Slono's talking about anything, then that's always whole new routes for me to start running down rabbit holes of. So shout out.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
I might learn Golang because of you, homie. I'm just saying. But,
For sure. I've been tempted.
right. That's yeah. The sort of team that I'm closest with at the moment. They're all like the main product that they built is written entirely in Go, and I'm like, okay, I'm a little bit sold here. I also love like CLIs and was thinking about Ruby, and I hear it's kind of like oriented around that sort of thing too. So
Slono has a fun love-hate relationship with Ruby that I'm getting to watch on the daily.
My only purpose for using Cordo to build the blog is because I took one look at Jekyll and Ruby and was like, nah, no sir, I'm not. And I mean, maybe Ruby's not a bad language. I've only had real experience with it in Shopify, like using it for that type of stuff, like the e-com stuff. But it was like a pain just to use it on Windows. I was like, nah, I'm cool. I had to find a different static site generator that doesn't use Ruby on the backend.
yeah, I just cloned this repo. What are the build actually? I can look at the README.
Cool.
Oh no, I can't. There isn't a README.
All right. I think we're pretty much wrapped up. So thank you, Flo. Appreciate it. Lots of really good stuff. We didn't follow any particular path. We kind of meandered across our own paths, but I think those are the fun ones, honestly. So this was great. And yikes, looking forward to next week.
Yeah, hopefully I can get this thing built by then, and then yeah, worst case, feel free to. I can always rip apart a couple of Neovim config folders of my own, and then the other ones of other people's that I've collected for interesting stuff. It could be a fun little adventure, but yeah, it sounds good to me.